Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much. Starting. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Pill Nation Hangout. Number 320. Been an interesting week. There's a big Hollywood component this week. Some very interesting stuff online, and we will be discussing a guy who I've been basically playing internet tag with for a couple of months now, either to get me on his show or for him to be on mine. We're going to cover what happened with Vinny Eastwood very recently, and why you won't be seeing him online probably for, I believe, for a couple of months. It's an interesting show. Pearson cannot make it. He's having some difficulties getting out of his GIMP costume and getting, as we all know, spandex is kind of form-fitting and very difficult to remove. So as soon as he gets out of his GIMP uniform and puts some actual regular clothes on, he will probably be joining us. But V is here, so V, introduce yourself.
Well, a little less known fact. You're not supposed to get your GIMP play mixed up with your other play that requires lubrication. Those two things just don't go together. So
I suspect that Steve is finding that out the hard way right now.
Yes.
And it serves him right for delaying his appearance on this show because he's going to get mercilessly slagged. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, I'm still at Patreon. I keep talking about shutting it down, but I just never seem to quite get around to it. In fact, it never even crosses my mind. I'm still at Patreon as the Red Pill, as Rookie5, and at Subscribe Star as the Red Pill Nation. Gonna have to give both those websites a little bit of love in here pretty soon. I am not at YouTube currently. I am at Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, and MGTOW TV. I am at Facebook, YouTube, at Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, TLB Talks. Might actually reintegrate a Twitter. Start up a Twitter account now that my confidence in Twitter is growing at this particular point. But no, I don't have a Twitter at this particular point in junction. That's pretty much it in terms of online content, at least for now. Again,
I keep tell you what. But I've been slowly just trying to cut away. I mean, of course, I want people to go to tlbtalk.com because that's my jam there. I've been slowly cutting away as much social stuff as humanly possible. Even on hiatus for my show, and just limiting the amount of people that I talk to, period. I mean, with the hundreds of people that I have to deal with I used to have to deal with on a daily basis. And like I said, just cut it down. There's a handful of people that I actually like to talk to, and that includes you and Harrison and the other usual suspects that appear on this show, and maybe another handful of people outside of that.
Well, everybody needs a break. I'm sort of in a self-imposed break because of my employment situation, which is the reason we're doing this show on a Sunday tonight and not on the usual Wednesday, at least on paper. This whole employment situation has been dragging out a little bit longer than I thought it was going to, and for reasons beyond my control to boot. So for the topics tonight, topic number 1, Tucker Carlson interviews Andrew Tate. That was an interesting interview, by the way. Topic number 2, Ray Epps is finally getting charged. MSM hides it behind his lawsuit against Tucker Carlson. Too bad Rusin's not here for that one. I'm sure he would have had a lot to say on that. Number 3, transgender woman will be competing for Miss Universe as he wins Miss the Nether. There's a transgender that is Miss Netherlands.
Are you sure about that? Oh, okay. I read Miss Neanderthal. Sorry about that.
Oh, well, I mean, oh my God, yeah. I was like, I took one look at that and I'm like, and I took a look at the runner-up and it's like how, right? That's all I had to say was how. All right, then we have the Hollywood section, and this is going to be a very interesting section. The MSM doubles down on Sound Afraid, and boy, did they ever. B, live action remake of Snow White looks DOA, especially the dwarves. And I will get into the dwarves. And C, yet another strike looming for Hollywood. The Screen Actors Guild joins the screenwriters on the picket line. And I just found out something about the Directors Guild, which makes it really interesting. Topic number 5, Instagram thread aims to be replacing Twitter. And 6, still not entirely clear if this is actually true or not, but I believe this is what I've been hearing. Vinny Eastwood sent to jail for New Zealand for his activism. Apparently it's only for like 3 months, or maybe he's under house arrest or something. But
it's supposed to be 3 to 4 months. Yeah.
So won't be doing anything with Vinny Eastwood online until almost winter time here. We'll be in full blown. Well, it'll be late fall before I actually get a chance to have him online. Okay, so
just want you to wear contraceptive before you get into the dwarves.
All right, I will. Let me just. Oh wow, looks like Mr. Rearson is stepped away from Skype for a bit here. Okay, so let's just get in. Let's just dive right into the. One piece of site news. I was able to clandestinely secure a backup Facebook account 2 days ago. So the Red Pill Nation Hangout and all of the channels that all the groups that I currently run on Facebook, if Facebook tries to pull the same bullshit they pulled in 2020, where they suspended my account and forced me to lose a whole bunch of stuff, that's not going to happen this time around. I'm not going to go into the details of how I was able to do it, but it's done just like I was able to secure a backup Twitter, although I had to try multiple times. That is pretty much it for now. There is going to be some posting up of all the back content that I've been kind of neglecting for the past. The hell? Okay, no, that's the other computer. Of all the back content, because I'm currently editing it and putting it up on we'll be putting it up online probably early this week, just to avoid having to deal with the hassle of having to do it all when I get back out to work. So with that, let's just do the old timestamp thing here, and then we will get right into it. Okay. So when I found out this happened, I knew I had to I knew immediately that it was going to be the number one topic, mostly because all of the wrong people, just like they were with Sound of Freedom, all of the wrong people were going to be spurging out over this. and that was and Tucker Carlson interviewing Andrew Tate. Now, when Tucker Carlson went over to Twitter, we were going to go, okay, let's just see how he does now that he no longer has the ball and chain that is Fox News around. Like, we'll actually see his true colors. Well, from the looks of things, it appears as though what Tucker Carlson has decided to do is he's decided to do go the same route as, say, Russell Brand, Joe Rogan, Dave Rubin, and a few other people, and decided that he's going to actually do what the job of the press is to do and actually go out and interview controversial people to get their opinions. So, I mean, he's had on a number of people, but this was the ninth show. He flew all the way to Romania, and he interviewed Andrew Tate. Now, overall, the interview was actually pretty good. Andrew Tate has become, probably because of what's happened to him recently, he has become a lot more careful about who he does his interviews with. BBC in particular, for instance, has done some serious hatchet jobs on Tate. Now, I say this as a guy who's not really a Tate super fan. The only issue is that, you know, regardless of whether you like Andrew Tate or not, he is, like me, he is a member of the Manosphere. He does Manosphere content. And because he does Manosphere content, you know, every time something bad happens to Andrew Tate, I get to hear about it because we always get some wokesters that come on to various groups on social media or go on Twitter or whatever and start openly gloating about it like they know what they're talking about. The reaction from the wokester crowd or the leftist crowd was exactly what you figured it would be. How dare Tucker Carlson talk to this child trafficker? How dare he? Oh, I had respect for Tucker Carlson until that one was not gonna. Of course, I'm never gonna mention who it was, but there was one individual. Oh, I was a big Tucker fan and a big conservative, but now that I saw Tucker interviewing Andrew Tate, I'm going to stop watching him. And it was like, of course, and then I go over to his profile, and his profile looks like it's a boilerplate leftist sounding board, right? And I go back and go, dude, I just went to your page. It's like, yeah, you were never a conservative. And keep in mind, I'm not a conservative, right? If you look at my political compass, and I believe I've actually posted it for you to look at, center left, but left enough to the point where it's almost bordering on liberal Democrat, right? Like I've been left wing. I've generally always been left wing. So, I don't necessarily, I mean, I used to not like Tucker Carlson at all. The whole interview, he had some very Tate himself, he had some very interesting takes on a few things. A lot of the stuff that Tate, and again, right, this is something like you can tell almost immediately, when you're getting somebody who is responding to what he heard about Andrew Tate say versus people who actually have listened to what Andrew Tate has to say and know what he's talking about. And I'm not a big Andrew Tate listener, but I've listened to enough of his stuff to know what it is he believes in and what it is he doesn't believe in. And I mean, if you listen to if you listen to the interview, the majority of the stuff that Tate talked about there, I agree with. I didn't agree completely on his stance with porn. My personal view on porn is that, banning it is not going to make the problem of male loneliness disappear, just like banning OnlyFans or taking Pornhub offline or whatever is not going to solve the problem. All you're going to do is just simply drive it underground. But I mean, he still had some very cogent points to make about porn. The whole issue here is that, I mean, and I'm going to say this specifically about Tate, and this has been twisted by people on the left quite frequently. Oh, well, Tate went to Romania because the rape laws there are a lot softer than they were in the West. Okay, I'm going to point this out to people, and I believe V has heard me say this before. What Romania doesn't have versus what they've got in, say, Great Britain or France or most of the West is that Romania doesn't have what's otherwise known as a rape shield law. Now, what the rape shield law is effectively, a woman can go in, accuse you of something, you as a male, and by the way, when I talk about this, I'm going to emphasize this. I do not endorse rape culture, rape or sexual assault or any of that stuff. But let me continue. She can just go in, make it, if they can investigate it, then they can haul you out in cuffs, basically have you do the perp walk from jail or from your place or whatever, and charge you. And the woman gets to hide behind the cloak of anonymity and is free to go to the press and say anything and everything about you without exposing herself unless she chooses to do so. So she gets to slander your name. You don't get to expose her. So if she has a previous record of false accusations that prove to be not true or anything like that, you have no way of actually responding in kind. Like, you can't bring up her side of her behavior and contrast it. Now, Romania does not have that. So what Andrew Tate was able to do is that he was able to publicly expose these women. Hold on a second. And what he was able to do was point out that one of the two women that made these accusations had already made a false accusation before in which the guy had committed suicide. He was able to produce security camera footage showing these two helpless women supposedly being held against their will, freely and unescorted, leaving Tate's mansion in Romania, going shopping, and then coming back of their own free will. He can also show that these women, as soon as the investigation was done, and as soon as Tate was in jail, instead of these poor traumatized women running homes to be comforted by their families, they both of them immediately flew off to the French Riviera for 2 weeks. Now, I don't know about you, but if I had gone through some type of a trauma or whatever, I'd probably want to stay around people who gave a crap about me for a while before doing anything, right? Emotional support, structural support, that type of thing, right? I mean, yeah, there's the stoicism thing, but I mean, yeah, like sometimes you just need to be able to talk to other people. Nope, didn't do that. Didn't go meet with their family. Didn't go anywhere to seek religious penitence or anything like that. Nope, 2 weeks in the Riviera before they did anything else. And they flew out almost immediately, and they have not been back since. Now, this is not stuff that Tate mentioned during the interview. This was more, Tucker's interview with him was more of a, let's get to know Tate. Let's find out what he actually believes, as opposed to being told what Andrew Tate believes. So, I mean, Tate did not say anything that was really over the top. Now, I mean, I've seen a couple of his shows. He does get over the top. Tate was also very, very, very pertinent to point out that he does not specifically hold the government of Romania culpable for what's going on. It's becoming pretty obvious that there are just certain individuals inside Romania that got paid off, and it wasn't the Romanian government in general. I also, at least 3 times in this interview, and this shouldn't come as a surprise, Tate mentioned over and over and over again that he's not suicidal, which is I've also heard James O'Keefe do this at one point. I don't know if Jordan Peterson has said it or some of the other people, but I mean, when they get to the point where they have to publicly go, no, I am not suicidal, that usually means that there's been some stuff going on behind the scenes that necessitates them having to say it. Now, I don't know what that is, but, I still have some personal misgivings about Andrew Tate, but I mean, it's like the fact that he had to resort to saying that kind of speaks volumes about the situation that they're currently in. Yeah, it was an interesting interview. Of course, the people that I saw on Twitter commenting on it didn't actually comment on the interview. They just used ad hominem on either Tucker Carlson or Andrew Tate and didn't actually talk about the specifics of the interview. And I've been around long enough to know that, if you ask them for specifics, they're just going to get into more ad hominem or they're just going to ignore or block you. So kudos to both Tucker Carlson and Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate gets to have his side of the story out. Oh, yeah. This actually also one last thing that happened on Twitter. Like a couple of people when I did the check on Twitter about this, oh well, nobody saw it, and it was sort of like nobody saw it. That's why there's 20 million views, and like this is literally what this guy's excuse is. Oh well, half of those people were bots, and I'm like, you understand that Elon Musk has made a conscious and consistent effort to get rid of bots at Twitter. Right? So yeah, it was seen by tens of millions of people. No matter what the leftists say about this, and if you actually bother to go over and look. And by the way, you will notice that the mainstream media, for the most part, like the online publications and TV and radio, they didn't cover this for obvious reasons. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah. So you're hung a little bit to the left, I hear.
A little to the left, not severely to the left.
Yeah, I tell you what. I started off as sort of a neutral, and then more and more I got into things like, oh wow, you got a lot of conservative values, conservative. And then it's like, I'm actually more of a anarcho-capitalist. But man, it's like I spent so much time on Gab. It's like, you know what? The left may be terrible, but I don't think it's anything as bad as the white supremacists that hide behind the conservative party.
Oh, yeah, I think I'm agreed. You won't get any argument from me there. Yeah, no, you were on this. No, were you on the show where I was talking about what happened with Tree of Logic and just Pearly Things? No, don't. Yeah, I think you were on that show. Yeah, I told you what happened there. Yeah, the right can be just as bad as the left.
Oh yeah. So I think I'm feeling the liberal. I'm feeling the liberalness. I'm feeling the liberal side of things. As a matter of fact, a little story, just to if I may, a little experience I had this week. Uh, it pertains to you know how things work in Eastern Europe. And everybody wants to talk about Andrew Tate, him going to Romania because this, because that. Let me tell you how things work over here in Eastern Europe. I had a little incident here. Um, Basically, I'm just gonna make this as short a story as possible. Um, my little woman, she went downstairs and out to a place called Żabka. It's basically the 7-Eleven here in Poland. It's like Żabka. They're everywhere. Literally, there's one downstairs and one across the street. They're more numerous than Walgreens and CVS's in America. There's Żabka everywhere. Anyhow, so transactions are made. She gets a broken bill as change. At some point later on, needs to go back, tries to buy some things with this broken bill. I'm talking, there's a tiny little piece of the bill taken out. I would say it's smaller. I would say it's about the size of a baby's pinky nail. Like the 2-month-old on their hand, little pinky nail. It's so tiny. This piece of paper that's torn out of the money. So I go down there and I try to buy something. I demand that they take my currency. They will not. They will not. Oh, well, I'm not going anywhere until you do. So after about 15 minutes of them, the store's packed. They have to open another register. Okay, well, we're just gonna ring security. And yeah, I've been through this situation. There's no justice in this situation when it comes to security. And something just said, you know what? They're only doing this because, there's a certain discrimination. There are the people that do everything for everybody, and there's you. Plus, with the combination of these people not wanting to do their jobs, there's a lot of that here in Poland. There's a lot of nepotism, and then people that just placeholders, people that just don't like to work. I understand all the Polish jokes now. But anyway, um, so it hits this little switch for security. All right, that's fine. I'm going to do something totally liberal here. I'm going to do what a liberal would do. So I said, okay. I decided to walk out. And on my way walking out, I extended my arms and I emptied the shelves to the left of me and to the right of me till I got out the door. Oh, V, you're such a bad boy. Yeah, so anyways, one of the only male that worked there follows me to my building, which is a secured building. One of my idiot neighbors lets this guy in, and he tries to detain me in my own stairwell. And he's, touching me. It's like, okay, this is assault. This is going to be a hell of a situation. I can't wait to see how this plays out. So I'm expecting police. I'm probably going to spend a couple nights in jail. I'm going to have to sue this person. This Żabka. I'm gonna have to. It's just gonna be one big mess. I'm thinking like an American. No, what really happens? I actually go up to the police station to make my own report because I know there's one against me. They're like, nope, no report. Yes, we got the call. But there's no official report, and there's no damages claimed. Like, what? And it's like, okay, well, what about the assault on my persons? Are you injured? Nothing I can prove right now. Well, nothing we can do. So really, it came, and I had to put my experience next to someone else's experience that I know here. The way things work here, it's all about the money. This is not a police state at all. If you're not in the process of being murdered or raped, there's no point in calling cops. Literally, for the call that they got, it took them about 4 hours to get to the store. Most businesses around here have their own contract with the security company, where they just ring a bell and some little goofy clown car shows up. Here, it's all about the money. So the process here would be, if she did report damages, the process here is that those damages would have gone to an insurance claim, and the insurance people obviously would pay out, and then they would hold on to that, hold on to it for 2 or 3 years. Then they give it to a debt collector that can automatically take money out of your bank account. That's how things are resolved here. Everything is civil. I was thinking like an American, oh, disturbing the peace, disorderly conduct, you know, these things like that. Even assault, they don't care. I guess that's why a lot of guys, will get a lot of fights. They'll punch each other out because they know cops are not showing up. It's not a police state. The economy, the American economy is based on how many people they can get in jail. Here, it's debt collectors and insurance companies. They are the law here. If you can do something where they can charge you money, oh, then you're in trouble. But pretty much everything else, the police don't do anything here. So that's how that works. So I'm pretty sure it's not that different in Romania. This is like an Eastern European thing. So with Andrew Tate coming to Romania, it's probably because he feels he has a greater sense of freedom. Not that he wanted to come over just to commit crimes. There's no police state here. There's no, being in America, everybody's constantly calling the cops on each other, threatening to call the cops on each other, terrorizing each other with cops. That's no way to live. So, I mean, for those people saying Andrew Tate came over here for whatever reasons, they're probably half right and half wrong. It's just easier to live here, as long as you know how to protect your pocket. That's the thing. And with him being the businessman that he is, that's not a problem. He can protect his pocket. So I'm understanding Tate more and more and more the more that I live over here in Poland. So Americans don't know what the hell they're talking about. When these people make these people have never left their country, never left America. They make assumptions about corrupt governments and all that stuff. It may not be that. It just may be a lack of government, or other institutions are in control. Like how I just explained to you. Here, the insurance companies and debt collectors. That's your police and your FBI over here. So yeah, I mean, and interest. They will keep you enslaved. If you're not paying them money, they will keep you enslaved. They will constantly take money out of your check until you have these people paid off. Not out of your check, but out of your bank account, which is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. Even in the States, if you owe the government money, you have to willingly pay out or you go to jail. So these people will seize your assets here in Eastern Europe. It might be easier to deal with than just automatic jail time in the West. At least you're out open free. You can handle your business. You can try to make alternate plans. You can have plan B, C, D, or, at least you're free enough where you can try to work something out. In the West, you don't have that kind of freedom. So as far as Carlson Tucker interview, I didn't watch it, but I assume it was a good interview. I don't have anything against Tucker, except for, every once in a while he pushed that Fox agenda with something racist, but that was too far in between compared to his predecessors, in my opinion. Tate, I'm not the hugest cheerleader of Tate. However, I understand Tate, and for all these people who are just like so extremely to the left, it's just insanity. A lack of logic is taking over their brain. Again, I'll reference my little woman over here. She's she tries to follow the Tate news and stuff like that, and she's not a big fan of me doing this show, and misogyny. I was like, you think this is bad?
Oh.
I was like, you think this is bad? I went to YouTube and typed in Tom Likas. I said, let's listen to this. I grew up on this. So it's like, we're tame compared to somebody like Tom Likas. Somebody who was literally, by the way, making millions of dollars saying the stuff that Andrew Tate was saying, but far worse.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing. I mean, Lycus, in terms of physical appearances, is nowhere in Tate's category at all.
Not at all.
And it's this is something that I've been starting to tell a lot of, because I'm going to be making this, well, at least I'm going to be recording it before I go out. Rollo Tomasi was talking about what the manosphere is going to be looking like over the next few months as the political right, starts to try. Well, I mean, they're adapting stuff from the manosphere that fits with the conservative agenda. They are disavowed. They're still not. None of these individuals will go out and will try to get fresh and fit. ABBA and Preach. I mean, I started listening to them after they jumped on board with Tate. It was very clear that they didn't pay attention to any of the facts that were going on with Tate, and the way they basically turned on Fresh and Fit kind of soured me to them. But again, right, like,
they've had a feud with Fresh and Fit for as long as I've been listening to them.
Oh, okay, yeah. So no, Fresh and Fit has not been very flattering towards ABBA and Preach. But like they haven't gone. Donovan Sharp's an African American guy. They won't. There's parts about Donovan Sharp that I like, and there's parts that I don't like about Donovan Sharp. But I mean, none of these people will go to the hell's that guy down in Florida? I can't remember his name, but they won't go to him at the 21 Club, and they won't go to Rollo Tomasi, where they basically two other big names. Nobody will interview Sandman in the mainstream media. Nobody will. You bet your sorry ass. Nobody is ever. Probably not for a while anyway. No one's ever going to try to interview. I can't remember what his first. He actually said his full name on a show recently. Nope, like the only way they're gonna have Hammerhand on mainstream media is to basically slander him. Terrence Popp, same sort of thing. Terrence Popp is pretty entertaining too, by the way. But I mean, yeah, they're adopting all of the manosphere talking points, but they're only picking and choosing the stuff that they want to talk about. And I'm having to start tell specifically conservatives, it's like, yeah, dude, like you have to start acknowledging all of the issues that the manosphere is taking, not just the ones that you like, right? Because whether you want to admit it or not, whoever wins the presidential race in 2024 is going to have to deal with the manosphere in some form or fashion, because it's still growing at an exponential rate. And with that, we're gonna kill this particular topic, and we're gonna get into the next one. This one is really interesting, too, by the way, because this involves a certain individual who was with. Well, I mean, he wasn't with Henrik and Scooby at the event on January 6th, but I mean, he wasn't there with them, but he was at that event. Guy was by the name of Ray Epps.
This is probably all the people who aren't in the rally right now that were across the street in front of the monument, in front of the Washington Monument, making their way over. I'm gonna keep an eye on the Proud Boys. Proud Boys are still just hanging out in the street over there. Yeah. This is a pretty good photo here, right? I think that's the group leader, Cone. You can really see the crowd coming down the street from the mall. So the Proud Boys coming in. Seems to be the chant.
We got women up here on the front line. Where's all our men at? This is our capital. Right here, baby. Join or die. Join or die. Join or die. Who's capital? Who's capital?
Somebody in the back over here keeps shouting, push forward.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
That's not why we're here. That's not why we're here. Listen, you can't focus on too many. Our seats. Our enemy is not other Americans. Our enemy is a capital.
Female Tate. All right, I don't agree.
People pulling the string.
You're a fucking retard. You're counterproductive to our battle.
How old are you, man? How old are you? It doesn't matter right now.
Let me tell you. How does it does.
It doesn't matter. That's not what we're here for.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Not what we're here for.
Why are you fighting with truth?
This isn't the day for that.
Yes, it is. They're rising our streets.
It doesn't.
Yes, it does.
They're not the enemy. Hey.
Oh, there he is.
This is a diversion.
There he is.
Guys. You're getting off the subject, man. We're here for another reason.
Come on.
Guys, come on.
Come on, guys. This guy sounds like Joe Biden.
This is a diversion. They're here to divert you.
You're a diversion.
Shut up.
Every time we're doing something, he runs up and he's like, no, guys.
Right. Change the world with our vote. Cringe.
You don't tell us what we're here for.
Yeah.
Why do you keep coming and everyone's voting in the next election?
It's been a long time, hasn't it? Woo, that shit's best.
You're a bunch of traitors back!
Okay, but one more thing.
Yeah, so can we go up there? No?
When we go in,
are we going to get arrested if we go up there?
Yeah. You don't need to get
Did
shot.
you arrest us all?
Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. What? No! Peacefully. Fed. Tomorrow, I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested.
Well, let's not say it.
We need to go. I'll say it.
All right.
We need to go in.
Shut the fuck up, Boomer.
To the Capitol.
Based Fed posting? All right. We need to go into the Capitol. I didn't see that coming. Okay.
Monument Hill.
Speaking. We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction. Please spread the word. All right, noted. Okay, but one more thing.
Yeah, so can we go up there? No?
When we go in,
Are we going to get arrested if we
leave
go
this
up there?
here. You don't need to get
Should you
shot.
arrest us all?
Now, if you don't know who Ray Epps was, Ray Epps, and I'm just going to basically admit this, either he was paid off to turn evidence against people on January the 6th, or he was an out-and-out plant. They have video of him. In fact, I'm probably going to go to that Revolver article and download as much of that content as possible and put it up for the slideshow. He was clearly, he was openly agitating about storming the building the day before. He was even called out for being a plant. He is clearly shown being involved in specifically guiding the crowd at the Trump speech after Trump's speech was over, of guiding the crowd specifically to that spot in the barrier where allegedly the Proud Boys cut open the gate. But then again, we don't even necessarily know if that was the Proud Boys or whether that was just a group of Proud Boy people wearing Proud Boy shirts that did that. He's seen on the grounds agitating. We still don't know who that guy was who was up in the tower that day. He is seen in several suspicious places all over D.C. on January 6th. As a clear and present agitator, and he lives in Phoenix, yet somehow the Phoenix FBI, they tracked down, they literally tracked and arrested people in Alaska over January 6th. They're still holding people in solitary confinement in prison, over January 6th. Yet somehow Ray Epps never got arrested, never got a visit from the FBI, even though there's clear and substantial evidence to suggest that he was definitely part of the group that agitated for the breaking in of the building of the Capitol building in DC. He among the other things that occurred on that particular day that don't make a lot of sense. Sorry, you're breaking up, man. Yeah, you're definitely breaking up.
No charges for inciting a riot?
Yeah. No charges for inciting a riot.
Yeah. Charges?
Nope, none whatsoever. Yes, I know. Shocking, huh? Also, this didn't specifically apply to Ray Epps, but there's also a bunch of other suspicious things that I've noticed about that particular day. The doors at the Capitol building are magnetically locked, aka to unlock those doors, you have to either open them from the inside, or you have to go to the security office, which is either the security office, which is the main security office, which is I'm going to guess, with every other security company that I've worked with, is usually an office downstairs, or there may have been one at the desk. Given that it's the Capitol building, those particular keys were probably in the hands of the supervisor and not the guard standing at the front. Although it was supposed to be a day off, so I don't think they would have had anybody specifically at the desk on that day, which means that the security supervisor on shift that day in the Capitol building would have been the only person that would have been had access to the keys. So the magnetic door at the front was unlocked. There's no way that could have happened from the outside. You would have had to have somebody on the inside. Now there was definitely cases where windows got smashed in and they broke in, and they came in that way. So it's not entirely innocent. But the other issue that came in is that to a certain degree, I mean, in sections they were also being waved in and waved through. The Indian shaman guy was escorted through most of the building, including one particular point. And somebody literally tried to argue this to the death, like double down, triple down, quadruple down on this issue. And it's like, yeah, dude, like like to get in onto the the floor of the house. Like the DC police go over to the door and let him in. They let him in. Right? And this guy was like, oh no, he broke in. Well, I mean, he wasn't the one who specifically broke the windows and let everybody in. That was somebody else. But he came in the door once it was open. That's not him breaking, that's not him actually specifically. He came in after the door was open. But I'm kind of diverting on this. The mainstream media has done everything humanly possible to avoid mentioning Ray Epps' name on their networks. That includes Fox News. I'm thinking it's not a coincidence that when Tucker Carlson blew the lid off that particular issue, that Buffalo Shaman guy, I can't remember his name, got released. Here's the thing, right? Tucker Carlson also exposed Ray Epps. Now, when it looked like Ray Epps was going to get charged, and he is going to be charged, he decides to launch a lawsuit against Tucker Carlson for defamation, which is going to be very difficult for him to win when there's clear video evidence of him, one, inciting a break-in at the Capitol building, and then two, guiding the crowd leaving the Trump speech to the particular spot where there was a hole in the fence. That stuff is out there right as rain, and it's like, I mean, yeah, okay, maybe he's going to get himself a lawyer. They're going to try playing some word salad to try to get that stuff dismissed. But I mean, it's the Ray Epps lawsuit against Tucker Carlson was basically, and they, the mainstream media absolutely covered that, right? But they didn't cover any of the other stuff. So yeah, I kind of figured at some point Ray Epps was going to, Ray Epps is going to have to spill the beans at some point. In particular, because Trump made a speech, which is going to be on the show for next week, where he actually said it's like, no. He's gone on the record and saying it's like everybody in the State Department who was pulling all this stuff when I was in office the first time is getting fired. Like all of them, if he can do it. And that got a big, huge row. I don't know whether he's going to be able to pull it off, but we'll see. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Well, Occam's razor. In perplexing situations, usually the easiest answer to something is the right one. This guy not having any kind of charges, exciting a crowd, riots, conspiracy, terroristic activities. None of the stuff stuck. Or I mean, not that they create these charges, but none of this is actually being looked at probably because he is a plant. Just based on Occam's razor. Let's just keep it simple. So if you can excite a whole bunch of people to do something, and it's not the first time feds have done something like this. I mean, we've got feds that have infiltrated Black Lives Matters, feds that have infiltrated the Proud Boys. You know, those all those guys in that U-Haul truck wearing white, we call those things bottomless, the ski mask, white ski mask, which nobody ever saw it in their faces, right? We didn't get any mugshot lineup of any of those people. You know, you gotta understand, there's a lot of psychological operations happening. It's a lot of government ops. It's a lot of puppeteering, dancing marionettes. It's a lot of that. In this particular situation, I think this Epps guy, him suing Tucker Carlson, it's a bad move. He has actually been kept out of the limelight for a reason. If he puts himself back into everyone's purview, he's just gonna mess everything up. Okay, it's just that simple. He will have to answer for what he did, because there's Carlson is no one to play with. I can tell you, he does not have the amount of money that Tucker Carlson has for legal defense, for any legal action. There's not going to be any lawyer that's going to take this thing pro bono, because it's a losing case, to try to shut Tucker Carlson down. Especially now that he's independent, doesn't have, like you said, the ball and chain from Fox. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would, not only that, I would countersue. If I were Carlson Tucker, I would counter sue for the same thing. Because he's calling Carlson Tucker a liar at this point. As you said, we have everything on a video of what this guy has done. Tucker Carlson has not said anything that we haven't seen. So if this guy wants to get back into the limelight, and the best way to do that, I think, would be to mess with somebody who is in the limelight, like Tucker Carlson, then he's going to be very successful. However, I don't think it's going to work to his advantage. So the powers that be want to get at Tucker Carlson, and they're grasping at straws, basically, contacting any and everybody who might have a beef with the man. And you're going to see more of it. This is not the last person that's going to be coming after Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson might end up being a targeted individual here soon enough. So that's all I have to say on it. I'm done. You there?
Hold on. Sorry, I forgot to unmute. It's going to be very, very difficult for Ray Epps to kind of avoid not not avoiding charges in this case, because, like, I mean, even if, like, I mean, assuming the Democrats somehow pull off a miracle, and I'm going to have to say it is going to rate as some sort of a miracle for them, or cheating on such an epic and infinite scale that the U.S. elections lose. Because, like, I mean, yeah, everybody is going to be watching the 2024 election. Like, everybody is going to be watching the 2024 election, and if there's any improprieties or any inconsistencies in the way the vote is handled, it's not going to to go particularly well for whichever president wins it. Although I don't know whether you were on that particular show or not, but YouTube has already decided that they're going. YouTube suddenly, just a few weeks ago, decided that they were going to suddenly no longer censor Election Fraud USA again. And the speculation on that is that they're doing that because if they lose in 2024, which it looks like they are going to, they're going to try and pull. They're like literally going to try and pull the same thing that the right did in 2021 with the election there. And of course, they're going to need the full support of YouTube and the mainstream media to pull that off, which is going to be a very difficult thing to do if YouTube is still blocking election fraud. Now, don't know how I'm going to go out on the record here based upon what I saw last year with the midterms. My gut feeling is that the Republicans, whoever wins the Republican nomination, which I'm going to guess is likely going to be Trump, because DeSantis is apparently losing support at the moment. The whole thing is going to revolve around the fact that Trump is, say what you will, Trump is an extremely narcissistic and egotistical man. He is probably, when he on his last run as president, he probably has more than a few grudges and a few scores that he's going to settle up once he gets back into office. The key part is that despite all of the gaffes that Biden has done, and by the way, Hollywood is completely melting down, but we'll be covering that in a little bit here. Yes, the Republicans are probably going to win in 2024, but it's not going to be a landslide. Why do I say it's not going to be a landslide? I say it's not going to be a landslide because of the way the Republicans are tapping into, they're still, pardon the term, they still really haven't found their balls yet. They might find them next year, because I'm also going to go out on the record and say that June 2024 is probably going to be when the firestorm for the election starts. Pride Month is going to be incredibly fractious.
Oh, Pride Month. That's probably when they're going to find their balls.
Yeah, that's probably when they're... Well, I mean, they're going to find their balls because the people who are supporting Pride don't actually have any.
Well, because they put them underneath their pillows and wait for the ball fairy to come through and give them some money.
Exactly. So Epps is going to face the music at some point. At also some point, the people who the FBI refused to disclose publicly whether they had agents at the FBI at the J6 event, which the fact that they absolutely refused to confirm or deny it probably suggests that they did, and they were really snarky about it as well. The key issue here is that I think especially when you look at what's going on with Hollywood, which we will be covering later on in the show, there's going to be a dead reckoning, and Trump, even though, I'm not entirely convinced that he isn't part of, he's not on the other wing of the bird, like he's a Council of Domestic Policy guy as opposed to CFR guy. So he's basically the other wing of the bird. Like there's these two big giant factions that are competing inside the United States. One of them is Pax Americana, and the other one is the globalists. And Trump and a lot of the Republicans that we're really starting to get behind right now, including DeSantis, are part of the Pax Americana group. Now, keep in mind, those guys are not particularly nice either, but at least with that group, you have got a lot more autonomy and you have more of a chance to break out of the system as opposed to what's going to happen with the globalists, which is probably why I would fall on their side. But wings of the same bird, basically. And with that, let's get on with the next topic.
Why are we doing this? Miss Netherlands 2023 is a man, and he's going to be running for Miss Universe next. It's Miss Universe, not Mr. Universe. Isn't Miss Universe supposed to be beautiful and all about world peace? Not like a dude. I'm so tired of hearing about stuff like this and then being told that straight males are the biggest threat to the trans community. Because you know what? We're not. The biggest threat to the trans community, it's other trans people. The ones who support men being Miss Universe, or men being the Woman of the Year, or men playing in women's sports, or men identifying as yogurt, or men getting pregnant, or men dressing up as women and doing drag shows in front of children. Those people are the biggest threat to the trans community because they make everybody look insane. And I'm sure it's not everyone. It can't be. Can it? Can we just stop this madness? Because you can't be a feminist, you can't advocate for women while simultaneously advocating for men to take women's positions in exclusively female roles like Miss Universe. Every single human in the entire universe was birthed by a woman. So maybe we should just let Miss Universe be a woman. I don't know, just think about it.
Okay, the next topic. This one is, well, we knew this was going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to happen to this degree. Okay, like what essentially happened is that there was a transgender, he's a man. Basically, a man won Miss Universe Netherlands 2023. Its name is Ricky Valerie. It does look better than the hell was that? It does look better than most women. I will freely and openly admit that. The issue is, though, is that Ricky Valerie Cole is still a guy, right? There is going to be a man competing for Miss Universe later on this year. Just stop and think about that, right? And I saw photos of the runner-up, and the runner-up, at least in my opinion, Ricky Valerie Cole looks better than 98% of the women out there, but he's still a guy, right? He still has a penis. And my thinking is around this pageant, because I'm seeing a lot of this everywhere, is that in order for a transgender to win Miss Universe, there has to be, and this is again when we get to the Hollywood section, which is going to be next, there has to be systematic failures in multiple places for this to happen. Now, when we get into next week's show, 321, we'll be talking about the fact that once again the World Cycling Association has decided that no, we're not allowing transgenders to compete at the Olympics or any international events that we sponsor. I am going to have to guess that the third world majority around Miss Universe is probably going to take a vote on this some point early in 2024. And this is, if I was to guess, I'm going to guess that this is not going to happen again. And I'm going to guess that it's probably going to be the Western countries and maybe a couple of other countries voting for this, as opposed to, and it's going to be the rest of the world against. It's not going to happen. There's going to be a big, huge to-do in the media about it. Oh, they can't allow transgenders to compete as Miss Universe. And I'm going to think, yeah, good, right? You know, like, I don't know. Of course, obviously, I've never been a judge, or I've never run for a pageant, and I have no desire to run for a pageant, right? Pageants, though, are a big deal, right? Just like female athletics are a big deal, right? The same amount of effort and work in a different type of capacity has to go into these pageants that female athletes have to do to reach their pinnacle in their chosen field. Like some of these women that were competing in Miss Netherlands have probably been in pageants for probably 10, maybe even 15 years. Like they have worked their asses off to get there. And what happens is that, you know, the organization, the judges, the infrastructure around Miss Netherlands became so corrupt and was more concerned about looking right, understanding that, you know, you can't send a man to a competition that is for women, right? Like you and I are never gonna be competing for Miss Universe. I have no desire to compete for Miss Universe. Okay, now say what you will. I mean, some of these beauty pageant contestants, by the way, I got to point this out. I mean, women are women are women. And some of these beauty pageant contestants, you know, very flawed, very damaged individuals. I can think of one in particular. I believe she was Miss Budapest in 1993. I believe her name was Anita Perger. She ended up having a fairly lengthy career as porn actress Anita Dark. By the way, man, smoking hot body on her. Still a smoking hot body. She's probably like in her mid-40s, and she's definitely got, I mean, even compared to women 20 years younger than her, I mean, she would still stack up. I'd still give her a solid 7 or an 8. Although she probably has to wear a lot of makeup, but I mean, yeah, she's still got a smoking hot body. But yeah, as imperfect, I guess your girlfriend is going to be listening to this, and so don't really care, MGTOW. You know, this is a competition for women. And you got to keep in mind, this is a guy who is a MGTOW. All right? I am not a guy that sucks up to women. I don't go around looking for their approval. Don't pretend to agree with them on the off chance that they're going to sleep with me, man. Like, I mean, if a woman is full of crap, I will just tell her right to her face that she's full of crap. Right? You know, for someone like me to go, no, this is for women. This is a competition for women, by women, for women. You know, and these pageant contestants, like I said, these pageant contestants work their asses off to get to that pinnacle. To have some guy come along and take it away from them, you know, while I will never lend so much as a shred of support to women attempting to seize this back, because, and I will quite clearly say this, where the fuck were they when they did that? Where the fuck were they when they were passing all of these really gynocentric laws? Where the hell are they when they start talking about when I start talking about the Duluth model? Sorry, like, where were they? Where were you? You know what? You want my support now? No. I will say that, yeah, these women work their asses off, and this is by women for women, but that's where my support stops. And I'm going to turn it over to V.
Well, they need to be working their asses on. Yeah, I don't know. If it's going to get to the point to where, well, it's going to be different. It's going to be different. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Lucius left foot is just boiling underneath. Wants to come out and just say it. Hey, mouse and mouth, man. No, but seriously, these are social institutions. You just have to look at things. You guys take a step back and just look and just take it all in. All right? Your social institutions. Social institutions are managed by the elites, and they have their rules. Okay? So, there's an agenda, and hey, these social events, well, they're starting to look like parties. You know what I mean? Everybody can do what they want to do, which is beautiful. That's fine. I'm not one for rigidness, for rules and social conformity. and listen, these are not penises, okay? They're just extra large clitorises or clitori. These are these are full-blown women, okay? Large clitoris. And listen, if you're Miss or whatever, well, hey, you probably look damn good, and if you look better than the rest, well, shame to those other women, right? If you come into my bar, hey, I've had a couple of beers, and you take me home with you. If you can fool me, hey, I say nuts to you. But no, okay, no, seriously. Let's. All right, I'm gonna get serious here for a moment. So this is just what it is. We're gonna take over. Actually, it's just really. I kind of have a little bit of a beef here because, again, I hate to bring up Gab. There's these people that like to, and whenever you're talking about these bigots, they'd like to lump everybody together, and it's a lot of, it's everybody's fault but mine. I had this one particular idiot who made a little chart, and it's basically a declining line of America, and along this line, he puts at the start, at the top, accepting black people as human beings, and then it goes all the way down to a black and white couple trying to adopt I'm sorry, black and white gay couple, trans couple trying to adopt and molest children. It's like, you know what? Why can we just be historically accurate here? Can we stop the bull? You know, basically, I mean, this chart basically says, you know, giving black people freedom and rights has led to the decline of America. It's like, okay, well, and this whole thing is this whole chart and the paragraphs that follow it, you know, it focuses on pedophilia. And it's like, okay, I had to repost this guy with my own message on top of it. It's like, for one, homosexuality, that's not a thing that's openly accepted in brown countries. It's not openly accepted in black countries. Okay, homosexuality.
It's sort of tolerated in the urban areas of Eastern countries, but not out in the countryside. It ain't.
Well, but I'm saying this is primarily, but it's accepted and it's okayed in the Western and white countries. Okay, this is like prevalent in these countries. Okay, actually, as a matter of fact, it's funny. There was I'm gonna get back to the story, but there's this not TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and one or the other. It's a black guy, and he does full drag, and he walks down the streets of different countries in Africa. You can see everybody turning their heads. You can see everybody in disgust and surprise. That's the first time they ever seen anything like that. So just to back up my point. So it's like, yeah, you know, and in this chart talks about, so we're gonna let men wear wigs, right? You know, and pretend to be women. Okay, let's look at the history here. Let's look at this. Not only is the homosexuality more prevalent in white countries, because you're blaming black people for this, didn't you have powdered wigs, men in powdered wigs? Didn't they make your laws? They wore makeup.
I don't know the European history. I think that was kind of like a status symbol around the Renaissance. Also, they wore those powdered wigs because a lot of them got diseases that caused their hair to fall out. So the wigs were there to cover up the hair loss.
Diseases, homosexual sex, more likely.
I don't know what it was, but there was one disease which was.
Well, the theater, right? There's no such thing. If you look at theater, plays, entertainment, you had men in dresses and wigs. So it's like, can you look at your own history here? And then I hate to say it, but you know, then you have the issue of pedophilia. Something
that is worldwide, but yeah, continue.
It is. You can find a pedophile anywhere, but culturally. Again, and the prevalence of it, you know, Vatican, you know, the prevalence of it is in Western white society. That's where you're going to see the most of it. Nobody's 100% pure in any of these things I'm saying, but I'm just saying you're going to see it most prevalent in white society. So I had to basically bust this guy's bubble telling him this. So I try not to be a bigot when these topics come up. I think these if these things are happening, if these things with these drag are they drag? Was it a drag? No, you're talking about a pageant. Okay, pageants and things like that. You either need to make a separation, and it will be so easy just to say trans. If they're pushing the right, the thing is, everybody wants their cake and eat it too. Everybody's pushing trans, trans, trans. But if you dare say, oh, this is a trans pageant, or just hold the pageant for trans, it's still discrimination because you can't compete with the real women.
Well, they shouldn't be competing with the real women. That's the thing.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't. However, we need to start making that distinction. Give them the right to do whatever the hell they want. But I think it's important that these people are so into trans rights, trans. Let's put trans everywhere. Let's do it. No, not real woman, trans. Not real men, trans. They want to be seen as, it's one thing to be treated the same, a trans woman and a woman. I mean, they should be treated the same. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do we need to title them the same? They're not biologically the same. That's like me saying I identify as a white lesbian. As a white lesbian.
You're not a white lesbian? Oh, I do.
I'm not a white lesbian.
That's disappointing. I could have sworn you were a white lesbian.
If I get angry that you don't treat me as a white lesbian woman, that's my hang up. That shouldn't be your hang up. That shouldn't be everybody's hang up to conform to. We need to make the dividing lines. We've had girl bathrooms and boy bathrooms. Why? Because there's a difference. Do we need a trans bathroom? I say yes. Do we need trans sports? I say yes. Do they need trans gyms? I say yes. Any place where anybody has to get naked in public, there needs to be a trans section. Absolutely. A unisex section. I'm not against taking away any rights from anybody. I want everybody to have rights. But let's do it right and not shove ourselves down in other people's mouths, down each other's throats. So, I'm sorry, I'm just ranting. I don't even know if I'm even on topic anymore. But that's just my thing.
You stayed pretty close. So, but yeah, no, not cool. Not cool. I'm almost gonna guarantee you next year, the Miss Universe, when they are going, somebody from a third world country is going to put this up to a vote, and it's gonna I can almost guarantee you, almost all of the Western countries are gonna vote against it, and the rest of the third world is gonna go, nope.
I mean, but they're letting the dudes, which I think is hilarious. They're letting the dudes enter in the women's weight, destroying all the records. So now that's going to be destroyed. How's that going to get repaired?
Oh, I can almost guarantee you that the same thing there, right? It's going to go to the internet. The women that are complaining about this are starting to in the West are starting to understand that the boards in the U.S. and whatever are not going to listen to them, so they are taking it up with world, and because they're and then what's happening is then again, right? In particular, especially in Muslim countries. By the way, they do have homosexuals in Muslim countries. It's not just a it's not just a uniquely Western thing. You just can't be public about it. But I mean, you know, it goes to a vote, and the third world majority, which is the majority of these international organizations, vote against it. So, you know, weightlifting, Miss Universe, what happened this week with the cycling competition where they're saying, no, trans men are not going to be allowed to compete against trans women in women's cycling, right? You're just going to start seeing that happen over and over and over again. Well, I mean, again, right? You know, this whole thing is starting to lose its steam, you know. The culprits involved, like, there's nothing organic about this whole trans thing. It's pretty much being covertly funded by a member of the Pritzker group, who's a globalist and a transgender. But it's being funded. This whole thing about trans rights is not organic. It didn't just come out of nowhere. Like, it's being funded by, I can't remember what his name is, but he's one of the Pritzker clan. That's been exposed. BlackRock at least has started making some noise about having to back away from ESG because apparently, in particular, what's going on with some corporations like Budweiser and Disney, I mean, the value of ESG, and we'll get more into that when we get to the Hollywood Center, the value of following ESG, people are smart to it, right? And, you know, like you've had among the DeSantis has made moves on ESG. I'm going to have to assume at some point in the next year or two, you're going to start seeing guys like the Texas governor and the premier of the province I live in, Daniel Smith. She's probably also going to start making moves against ESG. So, I mean, like, they've reached their high water mark, right? They've been exposed, right? Allegedly, Jordan Peterson and a whole bunch of anti-ESG crowd it's going to be a small event, but they're going to meet in London. They're going to brainstorm about how to organize properly against the global. So yeah, like they're starting to run into opposition. The opposition is getting stronger. The thing that concerns me about this, and we're really definitely getting off topic here, so then we'll get into the Hollywood section after I'm done this, is that you know, I keep thinking, like, are we dealing with a crowd here that wants to hold power so badly that they will start World War III so they can rule over the ashes because they can't rule over the planet? That's where my mind is going on this. And the answer is, are there people out there that have been that petty? I have encountered people low level who are that petty. Like, I had a coworker one time. This is no word of a lie. No word of a lie. This guy had a coffee maker. He was day shift. I was night shift at this one spot. He had a coffee maker. He would freeze his coffee. He would put the coffee in the fridge, and he wouldn't allow me to use his coffee maker when he wasn't there. Like, he would literally start freaking out if I used his coffee maker to make my coffee, even though I brought my own coffee and my own filters and whatever, right? You know, it didn't matter to him, right? And he was so petty and so selfish that he actually, again, this is also no word of a lie. He had a CD player and a radio at work. He would lock that up when he wasn't there and wouldn't allow me to use that either, right? Even though, like, for instance, when I had a radio, it was sort of like, yeah, remember, right? If you're gonna play the radio, just remember to put it back to the station that I had it on when I get back. And sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't, but I didn't complain. Like, it's like they needed music just as badly as I did, right? but not this guy, right? So are there individuals out there who are that small and that petty? Absolutely. Now, you give them a lot of power and they become addicted to it. And yeah, they would rather start World War III to rule over the ashes rather than if they can't actually run things themselves.
Miss Stapler? Miss Stapler? That's my stapler. Go ahead, Miss Stapler. I'm gonna burn this building down. Yeah.
Oh, him. Yes, I remember that. I've actually got that DVD somewhere in my my DVD collection. Now I'm probably going to have to go see it once we're done tonight. So anyway,
My
let's get
hometown,
into
Austin, Texas.
Yeah. All right, let's get on with the next one because this is a big section here. All right, the next section. This is the Hollywood section of the show tonight, and we got 3 topics. We'll start out with the Sound of Freedom, and I'll cover all 3, and then I'll turn it over to V here. Okay, so they're continuing to double down on the Sound of Freedom. They're making They're making all of this noise, and they kind of changed their tune now because what's ended up happening. Well, I mean, they went about it one of 2 ways. One, they did the hit pieces. The hit pieces didn't work particularly well, except for, of course, the sheep, whose opinions I'm no longer in. By the way, I am no longer interested in waking up the sheep on either side, right? I am more interested in waking up the wolves at this point. They did that. Also, a lot of major newspapers in the West did not even bother to do a review on it, not on their main page anyway. So, for instance, when I talked about this last week and I was talking about the fact that it has a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, there's a critic rating scores on it. Their most recent take on it is it's like, oh, well, it's doing okay, but that's because it's being pumped up by alt-right whites. Yeah, and I have actually seen people try to play the race card on this, and they tried to pull the white savior thing because, of course, it's based on a main character who just happens to be Caucasian, and it's his baby, and it is his group that's running it, but you got to understand. I mean, they do these operations all over the world with the cooperation of people who are not white, who are just as aghast and just as horrified and just as disgusted about pedophilia as this former Homeland Security person. I can't remember his specific name. The guy played by Jim Caviezel in the movie is. They've resorted to the race card. They have tried it's a far right wet dream type of situation. The other part that kind of really, I think, is disturbing Hollywood more than anything about this is that, and I said this was going to happen. It was really only a matter of time before a movie shot outside of the Hollywood system was going to knock it out of the park. I believe the current running value of what actually, man, I think I will actually look that up right now as we're talking here. I believe the actual intake for Sound of Freedom right now on a $14 million budget, by the way. Okay, yeah, it literally brought in $9 million today so far. And by the way, we're not at the end of the day yet. So it has brought in 85, by the way, no international release, but guaranteed it's probably going to get one at some point. $85 million on a $14 million budget. Now, if you had, say, given it $140 million, that would have been a return of $850 million on a $140 million budget. That would have been a return of $430 million. So it's nothing to scoff at. And by the way, the movie has actually got legs, meaning that it is continuing to bring in money after. In fact, it actually, in a rarity for movies, over a week period, over a 2-week period, it actually gained more viewership in its second week than in its first week. So everything they're doing, which suggests to me that the movie has got. Now, when you take that and you transfer it, say, over to, say, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I had Dial of Destiny losing just over $500 million, and that was based on that's the way I work it is you take the budget, production budget, times it by 3. And then you take a look at the first week's gross, both domestic and foreign, and the first week, and then you times the second week by 40%. So and then you take the revenue again, and it's like 40%. And it's the second week, the third week, it's 40% to 40%, so it's like 16%, and so on and so on and so on for about 5 or 6 weeks. And then at the end of it, anything after about week 5. Usually about 10%, give or take, after that, and I throw that in. That gives me a rough estimate. A 10% drop, though, in that initial run means that Indiana Jones is going to lose somewhere in the neighborhood of between 560 and 575 million, which makes the running total that Disney has lost this year very close to 1.8 billion, and we're barely halfway through over the year. They've thrown everything they can at it, including AMC actually had to issue a statement saying that no, they are not actually endorsing this, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't individual employees working at AMC theaters in the United States that aren't actually doing stuff like this on their own accord because of the manufactured consent of the mainstream media to make sure that people can't get to see Sound of Freedom. But yeah, there's been enough stuff that's happened around Sound of Freedom. The thing that really stands out to me is, and it really kind of hit home when I saw Jezebel, a feminist publication, by the way, the #1 feminist website on the entire planet, a place that routinely publishes articles about how women shouldn't be treated as sex objects, come out with an absolutely slanderous and hypocritical piece attacking Sound of Freedom. Yeah, I don't think you can get any more hypocritical than that. Now, topic number 2, and I think V might find this one particularly interesting. The Snow White live action remake. Okay, just like with The Little Mermaid, and I got to emphasize this, Snow White is based upon a Nordic, German, European fairy tale. Let me emphasize that again for you. A Nordic, European fairy tale. White people. It's in the title, Snow White. Right? Her skin is white as fallen snow. Like she's a... Don't think you can get any more descriptive than that. What does Disney do? Disney brings in a Latina to play Snow White. And not just any Latina, but a woke Hollywood Latina. Okay, fine. Spain is in Western Europe. Italy is in Western Europe. There are olive skin. There are very dark-skinned Europeans, right? But I mean, again, we're talking about Snow White here, which is a Nordic, based upon a Nordic European fairy tale. But I digress. The other part, and this is the part that just leaves me absolutely gobsmacked. The dwarves are not dwarves. Okay? If you know anything about the lore of dwarves, females are at least, I mean, again, right? A lot of this has been brought up from the gaming community. Female dwarves are exceedingly rare. They are, because we're talking about a Nordic European culture, they are usually light-skinned. But the key part here is that they are usually short and male. And again, I don't want to start getting into race here, but they're white. Okay, so out come the photo of the 7 dwarves. And of course, you got racial diversity among the dwarves. Wait, it gets better. There's only one of the dwarves is a black female, and I don't want to get into race, but in this particular case, you really cannot not notice that one of the dwarves is a black female, and the absolute biggest single insult to Snow White and the 7 dwarves is that only one of the dwarves is an actual midget. Now, they might be shorter, but they're not actually short people playing it. And they're looking at that, and when this photo got leaked, and of course it got leaked because people are getting right pissed off at Disney, and I will get into why they're getting pissed off at Disney when I get into the last topic, which is just an absolute humdinger. People leaked it, and Disney actually tried to say, oh, well, no, those aren't actual photos from the production set, until, of course, they release a photo of Rachel Zegler standing in the same field in her Snow White costume. Then Disney had no choice but to admit, yes, these are production stills from the set of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Oh, by the way, Snow White does not marry the prince at the end. In fact, there is no prince at all. So, I mean, basically, they did what they've done with a lot of movies where they just simply reinvented it. It's been speculated, especially because of what happened with The Little Mermaid, that they may not even release this movie into theaters. They may just simply put it on Disney Plus. It is like, I mean, an absolute embarrassment for them. Don't know what the production budget is, but based upon what I'm seeing so far, and I will say this, kudos to Disney this time for not playing the race card, for not playing the misogyny card, at least so far. If they have half a brain, they will tell the cast and the production crew if they release it in movie theaters, to just shut up. Let it play out. Don't insult the audience. Don't generate publicity for it. Keep the release low key, and maybe we might be able to salvage something out of it. But I mean, as it currently stands, the Snow White movie, the Snow White live action remake, has got disaster, even more so than The Little Mermaid, right? This particular movie has got disaster written all over it. However, let me get into the third part of this, which is the fact, and I mean, I was talking with Rusin about this. It's too bad Rusin decided not to join us tonight, but this is, I saw this coming back in 2020 when I saw what was going on with the movie theater industry, and the fact that, I mean, there was 2 years where Hollywood didn't bring in very much revenue because COVID. So they really needed to have a bounce back year this year, and they haven't. So guess what's going on? Hollywood's run out of, basically, a lot of the studios are running low on money. Right? So they can't pay out. Right, not that the writers and the actors were doing, and they've turned off a lot of people. And yeah, the writers went out on strike, and then the actors went out on strike. Now, the actors actually have both of them have a legit gripe. The thing with the Screen Actors Guild is that, in particular, and you're going to love this, Disney Studios is the biggest culprit for doing this. What they will do is although Warner Brothers has also been engaged in this. Warner Brothers isn't as bad as Disney Studios, but they're still pretty bad. Warner Brothers has also done this, is that they will take digital recreations of the characters involved, and they will use digital recreations of the actors involved, pay them for 1 day's worth of work, and generate potentially millions of dollars from the physical representation of that character in other movies. Disney in particular, and this should come as no surprise that Disney would be the one that was the biggest one behind this. Disney is the one that's been really driving this. But I mean, I knew about Disney years ago, right? Like, friend of mine at one point when I was involved in one film group in Edmonton, he worked in LA. This was back in the 2000s. This was back in Bob Iger's days. They used to call the Disney Studios in Burbank, they used to call it Mauschwitz. That's how bad the working conditions were at the Disney Studios in LA. Let's not even get in, and we won't even touch the Epstein stuff and the rampant number of the ever continuing revolving door of pedophiles, which disproportionately come out of the Disney company. But yeah, one of the big issues with the Screen Actors Guild is that the studios are now electronically storing their images and we're going to probably use their images in another movie down the road without hiring the actor. Now, on a personal level, you got a whole bunch, again, like the really creative writers in Hollywood a lot of them have left, which is, by the way, so why you're starting to see a lot of alt content, which is generally better written than a lot of the mainstream stuff. But I mean, a lot of these actors, I mean, one of the two names that I saw that got dragged out in this, one of them was the guy who played Agent Smith on the Avengers series. Agent Smith, I can't remember the guy's name right off, the guy who played Agent Smith, was publicly on the record during the Captain Marvel movie of insulting the Marvel fan base, calling them a bunch of misogynists, and playing the race card. And there he is on screen commenting about what's happening to the actors in Hollywood. And then, of course, probably one of the I can't fucking stand this guy. Ron Perlman, right? You know, the guy who, and when we get to the topic number 5, could be bringing Ron Perlman up again, was doing his usual tough guy TikTok video performance. And of course, on Twitter, he said, I'm leaving Twitter and going over to Threads because I don't like the political climate on Twitter. And it was like, my response was, oh, well, don't let the door hit you on the way out, asshole. Right? So much like what I was talking about with the women who are not going to be living high on the hog anymore because they're not getting lifetime alimony in Florida, I am having a very hard time feeling sorry for either the screenwriters or the actors in Hollywood for their financial woes, because they have chosen quite freely of their own personal choice to totally buy into the cult of wokeism. Now, not everybody in Hollywood is obviously a woke liberal or a woke leftist, but there's enough of them that they've actually started to physically damage Hollywood, right? And I knew that there were going to be strikes coming up because the studios just don't have the money. And of course, you know, they're also, I mean, by the way, all of this stuff also goes on top of the casting couch and screenplay theft. And, you know, if you're not part of one of these 4 or 5 different cliques that you have them in order to develop your connections and go anywhere in Hollywood, if you're not gay, Jewish, NAA, a pedo, or I can't remember what the 5th one was now, but I mean, it's like, yeah, you know, gay, Jewish, Scientology, NAA, or gay, right? If you're not one of those 5 groups, you're going to have a very hard time getting ahead in Hollywood. Again, some of those groups are better than others, right? And I am in AA, but I'm not in AA because it would have been advanced my film career. I'm in AA, and I've been in AA since I was like 18. So, having a very hard time feeling sorry for Hollywood. And if there's anything good that comes out of COVID, that would be it. And I kind of went on for a bit here, but V, take it away.
Wow. Are you serious? AA since 18?
Yeah, AA since 18. Since I was 18.
Firewater, not good for red men.
No, dude, alcohol. There's actually, if you go to native centers, you'll see posters on the walls that literally say alcohol destroys our culture.
Yeah.
Alcohol to natives is like what crack cocaine did to the African American community in the U.S.
Uh-huh. And how opium screwed up China. Oh yeah, and it all came from the same source. All right, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna jump on that one. Let me try to be on topic here. I don't know. I'm not too opinionated on this. I have to look at the other side of this, and I have a great resource looking at the other side of this. It's called Gab. And I've seen the post, you know, about the Little Mermaid, and it's just the most disgusting things that are said that I cannot repeat. A lot of it I've scrubbed from memory, just the hateful things that are said. You know, overall is, well, we're not going to go see this movie. You know, this one dude was like, mermaids are white. I was like, mermaids are fictional. to make this one guy look stupid. Mermaids are fictional. Actually, there are the oldest mermaid folklore in the world is African folklore on mermaids. Goes back to the worship of Dagon. So far more ancient than any European Celtic stuff. So I'm glad Disney's kind of setting the record straight if you really want to look at it. Mermaids should be black. But there's a lot of stolen history. And that's
well, I mean, they could have come up with the concept entirely on their own. There could have been two entirely different groups of mermaids, like. Also,
I just tend to go with what came first.
The whole sunlight thing about the necessity for lighter skin the further north you go. So that would also apply underseas as well. Just saying, right?
Right. But there came black people first. I tend to go with what came first. And so, and these things that white people were just so upset about have no understanding that more likely what they're upset about is not originally of their culture and is not of their actual history. Just because Caucasians over the past 7,000 years moved from one area to another, absorb the culture, dominate the culture, then genocide, and then move on to the next place, taking the identity of everybody else that wasn't them. So all this stuff about, I just think it's kind of silly. People want to ignore the history. And for those who are just plain ignorant of it, if you're upset about race swapping and short people and dwarves, if you're upset about this stuff, I think you shouldn't be watching the stuff. What you think is accurate, you should probably be watching documentaries. Go watch some damn documentaries. I don't like the fact that people are getting so riled up over fictional characters, even if it is based off of some kind of folklore. They're still fictional characters. At the end of the day, we live in a society. In this society, people need to work. People need to make a living. In today's society, you have equal rights. You're supposed to have equal rights. So Disney, I'm not faulting Disney for diversifying. People need jobs. I mean, if you're gonna whitewash the world and make all history white, if you want to make everything white, then that limits the jobs and opportunities for everybody else. So again, if I want to see something historically accurate, quote unquote, then I'm going to watch a documentary. If I want to watch something just for entertainment, anybody should be able to get a job because they can act well, they can play the part, and make an enjoyable movie, then that should be all that's qualified. That's the only qualifications you need. But to placehold certain positions and roles based on someone's physical attributes, you should have a pretty damn good reason for doing so. Other than that, I think, there's a place for everything. Disney is fairy tales. It's imagination. It's pretend time of the mind. And everybody should be able to play. As a matter of fact, and it's funny, not even talking about Disney, I actually downloaded the Just Beyond series because I saw a video clip on YouTube. I thought, hey, that looks kind of interesting. And, yeah, every episode is about some sort of witchcraft or aliens or, this is for people who go to fictional entertainment looking for some sort or parallel to their real life. I think they're kind of missing the point. And I don't know, those people, again, they need to go watch some documentaries or something. They need to not be so worried about who's playing what part. I mean, if it's just so horrendous, I mean, I'll say again, referencing back what I said earlier, Shakespeare plays were played, all female parts were men in wigs. Is it not an improvement that we have females playing females now? That they have the right to act, to do so? So, I mean, it's give and take. You have to be reasonable. If I could go get a job as an actor playing Conan the Barbarian, they're going to offer me some millions? Hey, yes, I'll do that. Hey, even a few $100,000. Hey, yes, I'll do that. Come see my movie. Am I going to be mugged in the streets because I'm not Khazarian? Or I'm sorry. I guess it would be Sumerian for that one, which was not even portrayed right in the movie. Conan, being a Sumerian, was not of dark skin. So again, whitewashed. It's okay to whitewash things, but when people want to swap out and do other races, everybody's up in arms. And it only shows that people are concerned with the reversism or the reversing of whitewashing. Be honest. People need to be honest with yourselves about this. If you want everything white, I don't know. I don't know what you should do. Start the Fourth Reich. Commit some more genocides. But as of how it is now, that's not how things are. I don't know. That's my point of view on it.
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, Europeans do have their own unique culture. There was a lot of blending that occurred during the Roman Empire, though, because the Roman Empire was on 3 different continents, right? So yeah, there was a lot, and they had a huge road system in the Roman Empire, which made travel inside the empire very efficient and easy. So there was a lot of cultural exchange going on in the Roman Empire. Yeah, a lot of people don't know there's a substantial amount of Roman Empire influence in Europe even today, and a lot of that has to do with the massive amount of cultural exchange that happened in the Middle East, between the Middle East and Africa, and the Roman-controlled parts of Europe when the Roman Empire was in existence. So yeah, that's why Europe has 2 rather distinctly different. You have the Celts up north, and you have the formerly Roman Empire controlled areas in southern Europe. That's why there's those 2 very distinctly different cultures with different law systems. And yeah, European history can be quite interesting. But again, though, I don't think they would have been very happy if Shaka Zulu had been played by a white man. Or Nelson Mandela was played by Ryan Reynolds, or Martin Luther King was played by again, right? I mean, That's effectively what that's effectively what this is. But again, yeah, it is cartoon characters, but it didn't stop at cartoon characters. One really notoriously bad case. Oh, let's not even get into the Cleopatra, because Cleopatra, I mean, she definitely had some African DNA in her because she was born in Africa, but Cleopatra's ancestors were Macedonian Greeks, and the statues that exist of Cleopatra, you can kind of see the African influence in there, but I mean, yeah, she is Caucasian, and that absolute disaster of
there are many trains of historical thought when it comes to that. So I'm not even going to comment on that one.
Yeah, but I mean, again, right? Historically, the people who were ruling Egypt at the time when the Roman Empire came through, they were Was there some interbreeding with the native African population? Oh yeah, absolutely. Keep in mind that Mediterranean Africans and Equatorial Africans are two unique versions of the larger group known as Negroid, and you can tell for instance, you can tell there's a very distinct, just like there's a difference between West Africans and East Africans because of the temperatures and so on and so forth. I mean, there's a huge, like I said, I was mentioning this before. You have the 5 main human groups, which is Negroid, Caucasian, Asian, Australian Pacific Islander, and Native American. African. You get into the subgroups of each one. You get into the subgroups. Negroids compose 60% of the subgroups out there. So yeah, there's a huge amount of genetic diversity coming out of Africa, which got some interesting medical situations down the road. The whole situation though with the one that really appeals to me, and it's sort of like, every time I look at this, I keep thinking about Hollywood, and to think that I actually wanted to be somebody inside Hollywood now, and now I don't even really want to have I've been toying with the idea of going back to returning to shooting live content, but it's like, I'm got my hands full right now, just basically juggling a day job and doing my YouTube. No, sorry. Why do I still keep calling it my YouTube channel? My internet channel. Hey, it's not a YouTube channel anymore.
You probably could do some work with me. I've actually been offered some roles by a production company. I don't know much about that stuff, but I was very impressed by what they told me. They have like 52 different can awards, things like that.
If they're looking to crew up, if they're independent and they're looking to crew up and the pay is well, although again, right, I would have to, like I say, I'm not getting backs to fly any work on a film set, right? But I mean, as long as they don't have any restrictions and as long as they're okay with me coming over and working on the crew, keep me in the loop on that. Anyway, I was kind of expecting that the strikes in Hollywood were going to happen. I didn't think they would happen this quickly, and it's weird, right? Because like when something transfers out, there's 2 ways it happens. It's either a slow fade, which is what happened with VHS and DVD, or it's a hard cut, like it was, say, when you went from using a Steam Deck table to using program editing. It was just sort of like one day people just stopped using Steam Deck to edit film and would just digitize their content and edit their content on a computer, right? Like it went like that. Like I still know how to use a Steam Deck, and there's definitely an art to editing on a Steam Deck. which I think a lot of people, because you have to think a lot more about your editing choices when you're having to do it via a machine as opposed to doing it digitally. And you have to pay more attention to the stuff that you're using, and you have to know where the reels are. Yeah, it's a very interesting process as opposed to editing your stuff digitally. But anyway, we're done with the Hollywood section. Hollywood, like I said, Hollywood was never going to recover from COVID, and I still stand by that. And I still think that Hollywood by 2030 in no way is going to resemble the Hollywood that it is now. Or that it was, say, even 10 or 15 years ago. And you know what? They did it to themselves. Oh, look at this. Just came across my news just as I was about to switch over to a topic. It just came across my my Reddit post. Andrew Tate finally charged with rape, human trafficking, and forming organized crime group to sexually exploit women. Just came across the BBC, just as I was about to switch over to the next topic here. Now, of course, there's a difference between he'd already been charged. They're going to have they're going to have a very, very hard time making it stick. Not a big surprise that this came up rather conveniently left out. Oh, and by the way, not a big surprise that the BBC, because the BBC has been really, really anti-Tate from the beginning. I'm not surprised that the BBC was the first one that came out with it. It literally, just as I was about to switch the topics, that popped up on my feed. I'm going to post up the article now, and then we're going to move on to the next topic here. Okay. The next topic, and these next two are going to be, these ones are going to be pretty... Well, I don't know. Maybe we might go on with Vince Eastwood, but I don't really know all that much about Vince Eastwood. I know a lot about his recent stuff. But yeah, when we get Vinny Eastwood as topic number 6. Okay. A new rival to Twitter has come up. First it was Gab, which is still around. Then you had Parler. And I find it rather ironic because Parler was set up because on Twitter they were saying, well, go start up your own. And same thing with Gab. That's the reason why Gab came. Go start your own site then, which is exactly what it did. In the moment, it looked like Parler was going to get close to 100 million. They shut it down. And Parler's never really bounced back. And again, they could have gotten their own servers. They didn't have to kiss Amazon's ass. They could have just gotten their own servers, problem solved, which is what Gab did. Oh, hey, Rearson.
That's what we did at TLB Talk. We got our own servers.
Rearson, welcome aboard.
Rearson!
Gentlemen.
Yeah, that gimp suit.
What?
You finally found your way out of that gimp suit.
Okay, I'm not going to ask, but all right. Whatever.
You just missed
the use lubrication and have gimp play at the same time.
Okay. Sorry, what?
Oh, okay, Rearson, we just finished the Hollywood section.
Okay.
Now, did you want to have anything? Do you have anything you want to say about? Because I sent you a copy of that. But do you have anything to say on the Hollywood stuff, or do you just want to move on to Instagram threads?
Give me a minute just to go back through the chat and see what was what. Tucker interviews Andrew Tate. I'm sure that went over well. Where Epps finally charged. So it's about fucking time, but fuck whatever. Oh yeah, transgender would be. Oh good fucking lord. Okay, Miss Universe, whatever. This was inevitable. I mean, at least I voiced the opinion or the wonderment of how long is it going to be before this is on, Sports Illustrated. And sure shit stinks. I think it was about 6 to 8 months later, whatever the case may have been. Swimsuit edition. Sorry, boys, but
see that bulge?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or better yet, hey Dylan, can you pass this grapefruit through your pelvis? No? Well, guess what? You ain't a woman. Fuck. And that's and again, there's that like 4 or 5-year-old girl that was Steve Harvey, and she pointed out, and I don't know why she memorized that. Maybe it was her parents, maybe it was her, I don't know, but she basically just said, and the pelvis is really the only bone that you're going to be able to know if it's a male or female, because only girls can have babies. So, that's basically that's the short and sweet of it. And oh my God, the thing that's passing for a female that one, I thought Jessica, what the fuck was her name? Jessica Parker? Sex and the City, that ugly horse.
Oh, Sarah Jessica Parker, yeah.
Thank you, Sarah Jessica Parker. She had a bad enough, and she would look bad enough. It was called horse face.
Well, she has a horse face, but I will say this because I remember seeing Sarah Jessica Parker in the early 90s.
Oh, I remember
she did have, she had a bit of a horse face, but man, she had a rockin' body back in the day.
Her face looks like a foot.
She had a horse face, but she had a rockin' body. The woman that she reminds me of right now, who kind of looks like her, is an online content creator called Torsha, right? Torsha's got kind of like that equine nose, but she's also got like an absolutely rockin' body, which is exactly what Sarah Jessica. But trust me, seen some movies with Sarah Jessica Parker in the early 90s. Yeah, she was rocking. She's got a rockin' body. Anyway, continue on.
Well, unfortunately, that's for most women. Back in the day, she had a killer body. Yeah, when she was young and fertile, you just to bang the shit out of her. But anyway, good night. That one from Ms. Netherlands. Oh, God, might as well just spell it now MZ or MIZZ, because that's all it is now. Just an absolute fucking joke. But whatever. No amount of booze could make me want to fuck that. I mean, no amount of booze.
Oh, so she's a 24 on the Bud scale, as in how drunk you'd have to be to sleep with her.
That's good, man. That is really good. 24. I'll be throwing up before I hit that point. Yeah, I would rather have severe alcohol poisoning, and you have to have me in the hospital for a couple of days to pump my stomach out, fully rehydrate me, and I will pray that I don't have a twisted colon, just because it seems to happen when I get dehydrated from drinking too much. I'm 2 weeks sober, by the way, but anyway. But yeah, no amount of booze would make me think that that's a fucking woman. None.
See, I would think the stomach pump would be for like a Rod Stewart situation.
Two-quart Stewart.
Yeah.
One second.
Because those giant clitorises, they get pretty juicy sometimes.
Bruceson, do you have anything to say on the Hollywood section, or can we move on with topic 5? Bruceson.
Bruceson had to go vomit.
Okay, the nightmare of actually having to do Miss Netherlands just caused him to just have a flashback to his most recent GIMP event. So.
Oh, sorry. Did you hear that?
Yes, we did.
God. Oh, that is. Yeah. And the runner-up.
Oh, I actually got a photo of the runner-up for Miss Netherlands. The runner-up is actually is an actual woman, and she actually looks.
What? What? What?
No,
what is
trans
this?
won Miss won Miss Universe, but it was an actual biological woman that was the runner-up.
Hello, mama. Buddy, sorry. Dude thinks he's a lady. That's all I'm going to say. Fuck. Okay, that's enough of that one. Hollywood section, MSN doubles down on Sound of Freedom. Okay. All right. So, again, anyone that is... The issue of mainstream media not acknowledging this, to me, much like that fucking doctor that we talked about before, Hotez, I think it was. The one that's saying that the vaccines are safe, but refuses to get himself all inoculated up and whatever else. Yeah, Hotez, that was the guy's name, right? Yeah, that's what it was. My opinion is that they're... Well, no, I mean, this is no fucking different than the whole thing with the woman that had the Jeffrey Epstein interview with Virginia Giuffre. They made it disappear. This is the same fucking shit. Absolute same shit. So at best, they're guilty of keeping it quiet. At worst, they're fully complicit and participate. That's my opinion. Snow White. Okay, what the fuck's going on with Snow White?
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, Snow White is a Northern European fairy tale.
Yeah.
It says that right in the Snow White. Skin as white as snow. So I kind of explained all this. Rachel, it started out with they race swapped out Snow, a Scandinavian, basically a Germanic woman with a woke Latino woman. That was bad. That was bad
Strike
news number one.
Okay, all right, strike one.
Strike two. The dwarves.
Okay.
The dwarves are not the dwarves. The dwarves were also a Northern European, although they do have I won't get into that. They do have the dwarves are also a Northern European folklore fairy tale species. They are white and male. The dwarves in the publicity photos that got inadvertently leaked because people are actually kind of pissed off at Disney for just about everything.
Let's add one more.
All right. First of all, the dwarves are not all white, which is all right. That's one thing. One of the dwarves is a female, a black female, and
strike two.
And the dwarves aren't actually midgets. There's only one of them that's actually short. And when this got leaked, Disney said, "Oh no, this isn't publicity photos from the shoot." And then, of course, they showed Rachel Zegler sitting in the same field with her costume on. It was like, yeah. So they finally had to say, "Yeah, sorry, we take that back. Yes, these are publicity shots from the actual movie." Publicity shows from stills from the movie, and I'm like, and it's sort of like the movie's going to tank so epically. Like, I mean, they're gonna lose because of what happened with Indiana Jones. It was 515. It's now probably somewhere in the neighborhood of between 530 and 550 $million on Indiana Jones. And it's like, and they're going to release this early next year. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like, I mean, they've had three massive stinkers in the last year, and they're going to release another one, and they're hurting for cash. And I mean, this all ties into the fact that Bob Iger is also ripping the actors off by stealing their digital likenesses and only paying which is what the strike is going on. But that's the thing with Snow White.
Why don't you just make them also climate change activists while you're at it? I mean, just to fill the whole fucking thing out. Okay, well, sure. Did they throw Snow White? Fucking Rosario Dawson? Anyway, whatever. Okay. And then, yeah. Well, you know what? This was coming. It was already done a little bit with... Well, Mark Hamill has signed himself off for Disney. Well, he signed himself off for LucasArts that they can digitize him and do whatever they want with him to make him immortal. Which is fine, as long as he gets properly compensated for it. Well, with AI and deep fake technology, this was inevitable. I'm sorry to say it, but it just was. I mean, it was bad enough with the writers, but the writers were woke as fuck. Were also woke as fuck. And I just saw today, actually, that Alberta screen actors have also gone on strike in solidarity with Hollywood or Bollywood or whatever you want to fucking call them. Whatever. I'm sorry, but whatever. Small independent films like Sound of Freedom, I think, is going to be your best bet for anybody now anyway. But as you had pointed out to me, and you probably said it tonight already, is that a lot of people, a very select few people, have gotten very used to being paid very well. And I get it, your lifestyle is now threatened, and everybody's fucking scared shitless, but you know what? Hollywood has been creatively begging for a long time. We've already been saying that for years now. And something's got to change. I just didn't expect the likelihood that AI would take over the entertainment industry first like this. But hey, I guess now they care because, you know, all of those people that were working for fucking, relatively speaking, for fucking pennies compared to their salaries, where at McDonald's or Walmart, you've got more self-checkout because the cost of employees, at least full-time and benefits and whatever else, it's a lot cheaper and easier overall just to have your self-checkout lines versus, you know, having, say, 2 or 3 cashiers when it would have been, say, 7 to 10 at your Walmarts or whatever else. I'll wait for the dust to settle. I could care less for the dust to settle on this one. The only thing I'm waiting for right now with all of this is just to see what happens with Disney. I'm hoping that Lucasfilm gets sold off because it's probably their biggest asset that has the most to gain. It just requires time and a lot of work, and heaven forbid, unlike the sequels, it has to have like a 10 to 15 year business plan that makes sense, and that'll keep someone like me interested in going back to it all. So we'll see. Okay, don't have much to say about Andrew Tate, but interesting. I'll try to watch that at some point. Probably not, but I'll try. And that's it. Instagram.
Okay, hold on a second here. I am going to bring in something in honor of in honor of Miss Netherlands.
What, Gorlak the Destroyer? Oh, that's a real thing.
Yes.
And that would have been released just when you were done high school.
Yep, and that is due to the fact that I am no longer on YouTube, so fuck the music restrictions.
Well, don't you think it's funny though, Miss, of all places, Miss Netherlands? I mean, what do you call you downstairs? Your nether region.
Well, it's called the lowlands, and a lot of the Netherlands is actually below sea level. That's why it's called the Nether. Netherlands to a certain degree.
Your
all I'm gonna
nethers.
And all I'm going to say is that there's no man's land there anymore either. That's been scraped out.
All right. Okay, so let's get on with the next topic here. Threads. All right. So it was well known. It's well. I mean, I'm thinking it was a particular because of what is going on with Twitter, that Mark Zuckerberg in particular is really the only guy who could maybe successfully launch a platform to maybe try and take away some of it, because they have to get something set up online to counter, because they're not going, because yeah, you have leftists on Twitter, and they're still posting up there. In particular, the fucking Krasensteins got invited back on, which is good, because unlike before when the Krasensteins post up, though, or you see one of these woke leftists post up a point, they tend to get challenged on it. Like, it's not a big massive circle jerk. Twitter is like the tweets in support of these wokesters is not the first thing at the top, so they're not getting the circle jerk that they used to. So, they tried going over to Mastodon. The only problem is that I don't know, because I was never there, but we did cover a topic where it was alleged that up to 40% of the activity. It's kind of ironic, because we were just talking about Sound of Freedom. 40% of Mastodon, up to 40% at one point, was pedophile content on Mastodon. I don't know how much it is now, but apparently that was a problem. And these individuals that left Twitter and ran over to Mastodon just never really took off, because it's got a reputation for being a leftist haven. And again, right, nobody on the right was going to go over there. They all went. They went anywhere. They went to Truth Social, right? So they had to come up with a viable option to Twitter before the election, and the only person that could have done it was Mark Zuckerberg. So, and he owns Instagram, so he set up something called Threads on Instagram, and it's doing okay. I signed up for it. I don't use it. I have no intention of using it, but almost immediately people started noting its censorious nature, right? Like, if you go, like, for instance, one person posted up that he joined a Threads account by the name of DC Drano, and they were like saying, well, this guy has been noted for, and they said a whole bunch of stuff about DC Drano, which wasn't true, right? So they're already on a censorious path, which means that only the leftoids are going to use Threads for the most part. It might not be as bad as Mastodon, but it's not going to take off, and people are still going to go to Twitter for the most part for this kind of for that instant feedback content, and not to Threads, even though the mainstream media hyped up Threads about as much as they could. And you had a large number of celebrities going, well, Threads, and the response is, okay, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, right? Enjoy your little circle jerk, right? Bye, right? People will still go to Twitter to check the news feed on Twitter before they go to Threads and say la vie, right? And also, by the way, Twitter is not blocking Canadian news content, while Instagram and Facebook are, because of Bill C-18. But I digress. Anyway, apparently Zuckerberg may have used some proprietary content with Threads that actually belong to Twitter, so there is a lawsuit pending. Threads took off just like Parler did, and then it kind of plateaued. Like it didn't like take off. I mean, it did pretty well, but it kind of hit a plateau, and that's it's not going to emerge. It's got maybe about 1/10 the population that Twitter has, right? But don't believe it's going to get as big as Twitter because they're already engaging in censorship on Threads, right? And because they're already engaging in censorship on Threads to the same level that Twitter was doing it before Elon Musk took over, like the people who are interested in getting the story are not going to go over to Threads. End of story there. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, don't know what I should say on this one. It's dog eat dog world. Somebody's got to be able to do the stuff right. I have, like I said, I've stepped back from a lot of stuff that I'm doing. However, I still have tlbtalk.com. I just know things are definitely going to change for the better. As soon as, there's not many people that can advocate for what it is that they have. I'm going to have the freedom to go from town to town, city to city, state to state, and it's just going to be me gathering up businesses, organizations, and TLB Talk. The only thing I can do as far as the other networks are concerned are just study them and see how they're screwing up so I don't make the same mistake. As of right now, that's just where it sits. I'm not going to throw anybody on the ground that's trying to do what I'm doing because really, I mean, with the level of censorship we've been hit with, there should be 10 times the people like me trying to do this. There should be 10, 20 more different people out there or companies out there trying to do this. We need options. The censorship machine is so frustrating, violating, and it's frustrating. And I can't stand it. So, that I'll pass it on. Emerson.
Well, I suppose in a sense, I'm going to tie this back to the Sound of Freedom. I suppose that someone somewhere out there has to get the child trafficking and the pedophile networks and whatever else. Got to go somewhere. So I could see that being their best alternative option. I mean, still, what do I know? Oh, sorry. My opinion is. But again, and as I've told Jaffe, I'm very low key when it comes to being on social media. I have other things to do with my time, and more power to you for those of you that's present company included, that are able to use it to your advantage. But having seen how obsessive I can be on on Facebook, I have taken very much of a back off, proceed with extreme caution approach to it all. And but whatever. I mean, it's been said that porn is to men as social media is to women, especially the white liberal women. I guess enough ticked off conservative women as well, but anyway, whatever. I do have a Snapchat. I only use that to keep in touch with a couple of people. And that's basically it. I've got a handful, relatively speaking, I have a handful of people, a couple of dozen or so, of people that I'm in touch with and I've grown within a certain group. But, I have more important things to do with my time than waste it on freaking social media. Social media to get to fulfill my confirmation bias, to have that fleeting, insecure feeling of needing validation. Yeah, I don't need this shit anymore. So that's all I got. Next.
Okay, so last topic for tonight is, hold on a second, let me get, it keeps wanting to, Jesus, it keeps doing that. All right, last topic for tonight. This one was, I was going to go with something else, and then, of course, I found out what happened to Vinny Eastwood. Vinny Eastwood is a guy who I have been basically, because I've had other stuff, and Rearson knows what I'm dealing with right now, I've had other things going on. Vinny Eastwood is probably one of the old guard of the alt media. Like, he was doing this probably, like, he was doing this back when George W. Bush was the president. That's how long he's been doing that. I think it was either George W. It might have been George W. Bush or maybe Barack Obama got elected. I'm one of the two, right? But he's been around for a while. Like, he's one of the old guard, right? Like, he was into this back.
The Barack times, yeah.
Yeah, he was back doing this when YouTube was basically not nearly as censorious as it is now, and was a bit more like the Wild Wild West. He made the mistake of, and again, I'm going to say this openly, he made the mistake. I too got my YouTube, had the, I guess I had the brain. I guess he didn't think about that because it hadn't happened, and when it did happen, it kind of took him by surprise. And maybe he didn't have the time to do it. But I always took the time to load up all my content onto an alternate platform, which meant that if I lost my YouTube channel, and Rearson was here when we had this discussion back in 2019, when YouTube started shutting down channels arbitrarily, that, when they eventually got around to shutting down my channel, which they did, that I would still have all my content backed up. But Vinny Eastwood lost a lot of content. I understand that V still has some of Vinny Eastwood's interviews back from back in the day. Vinny Eastwood's been in and out of jail, but he ended up back in jail again, which means that I'm not going to be able to have him on now until probably like November, December this year. The conditions that were imposed on Vincent Eastwood were draconian and designed with one specific intent and purpose, and one only, which is to make sure that they could shut him up, and that he wasn't going to be able to get his story out, nor was he going to be able to say, go on Give, Send, Go or something like that and raise a legal defense fund for himself. They said no internet, no communication, whatever. Like, really, my understanding is, at least in the United States, is that, unless you have openly, and it's a little bit more restrictive in Canada, but unless you have actually engaged in an open call to action, or in Canada there's this thing, and there's going to be a new version of it coming out very soon if Trudeau stays in power long enough, where they're going to get to redefine hate speech exactly how they want to define hate speech, but I digress. The restrictions that were put on Vinny Eastwood were draconian and in complete violation of any legal principles that are applied in the West, like any. And I listened to the interview that he posted up because I wanted to get, and Vinny Eastwood seems to be, and I've never really listened to any of his content, so I really don't know what his personal style is like, or what topics I would agree or disagree with him on. But he's been kind of like in more or less in the same network that I've been in, so I've been kind of giving him, I've been giving him the respect that he is due. Kind of disappointed that the alt media has not been giving him the kind of publicity that I think his situation requires. I am also going to point out, though, in all due fairness, that there's a lot of infighting with the alt media. I have had alt media creators get downright vicious with me over their channels and over their over their groups and whatnot. Kelso was talking to me about, I believe it was the personality clash between Chris Sky and I believe it was David Icke. So yeah, and there's also, we've had on my channel, I mean, there have been times, in fact, and very recently, in fact, there have been times where I've had to not have some people on with other people and so on and so forth, right? So to be fair to the alt media, I mean, the fact that they're not giving Vinny Eastwood the coverage that maybe he deserves is probably because of the nature, and also keep in mind, like me, for instance, I do a lot of Manosphere content, right? I don't touch up on international stuff very much, although I have been doing a little bit more of it lately because I think it's becoming more relevant. But I don't get into it too much. But I mean, yeah, based upon the interview that I was listening to with Vinny Eastwood on this, the restrictions that he got put under are absolutely draconian. And again, I think of all of the Five Eyes of the Western countries, I think New Zealand, it appears to be as though New Zealand is the most far gone of them. It's the one that has become the most globalized. They went there was a radio silent upon that mosque massacre. They are not allowing any information about that mosque massacre to take place, nor of the somewhat inconspicuous and inconsistent behavior of the mosque shooter and some of his stuff he did after he was arrested. So, but I mean, Vinny Eastwood's been in this game for a while. He knows what the lay of the land is, and he knows. I mean, he has the misfortune of being stuck in the country that is probably the most globalized of the bunch, and at least of the Five Eyes, anyway. And yeah, I wish Vinny Eastwood all the best of luck. I can't really get into too much detail about it. V probably has a whole lot more to say about this than I do. But surprised, not surprised at what happened. I will also say one other thing about New Zealand, and this is something that's Manosphere related. Again, right? Of the Five Eyes Western countries, New Zealand is rated, in fact, of all of the Western countries, New Zealand has got the reputation for having the least attractive women. Now, that's not to say I haven't run into attractive women from New Zealand, but that's a reputation, at least with the dating coach Red Pill Manosphere section of the Manosphere. New Zealand has got the reputation for having the least attractive women. I don't know for sure, right? But
Prime Minister's included, and of course, face.
Oh God, you want to talk? Yeah, she's even more horse-faced than Sarah Jessica Parker. At least Sarah Jessica Parker had a rockin' body,
and certainly much better than Miss Universe. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
oh.
You know, and she does. I mean, she's gone now, but apparently her replacement is even worse than she is. But I think of all the topics, I think this is the one that V probably knows the most about. So I'm going to turn the floor, or I'm going to yield my time over to V.
Well, I think you've done a good job with it already there, Naroki. Yeah, I mean, I know when I was being targeted, I started doing a lot of research behind why I was being screwed with, how I was being screwed with. I literally come across an episode of a guy named Alex Hunter that is a target individual and is being interviewed by Vinny Eastwood. That's what connected me to Vinny Eastwood. And ever since then, I would say this was late 2014. I had listened to most of his shows, and I literally, because of my being targeting, something that would happen a lot was my internet connection would just be throttled, be shut off a lot of times. Websites break. So, and a lot of times, if I wanted to listen to a show or view his show on YouTube, I had to go to a YouTube video downloader website or use a YouTube downloader program, because there's no way I was going to make it through a YouTube video without it stopping every 5 seconds for 5 minutes at a time. So it was better just to have the shows on my hard disk. And boy, did I build a collection. Probably about 70 gigs worth that I still have today. So yeah, I mean, he got to the real issues. That's what I liked. I made a transition actually from Alex Jones to Vinny Eastwood, if you can believe that. So I loved his approach, and Vinny Eastwood was actually one of the inspirations for my show, because 2 years later I started my own radio show. So, and ever since then, every year since then, for my birthday, I've had him on my show. I mean, you just would have to. People don't understand how awesome, how down to earth, how cool Vinny is. I mean, the fact that I was able to contact him, told him who I was, and he was instantly a battle brother. You know, all right, let's do this. And so that's why I do his show periodically. He does my show periodically. And as a matter of fact, you know, whenever something's going down, I always get messages from him in my Skype. Any news with him, I'm one of the first people he tells on Skype, which is really awesome. Yeah, he did tell me that he was going to be silenced and he wanted to come on to my show. So that's actually his last interview with me. Yeah, it was maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And he was talking about his situation. I don't know if you guys got a message, but there are other people that he needed contacted and made sure that they got some airtime as well. So even if we can't get a hold of an Eastwood, he's got other people that we should be talking to. but yeah, I mean, just it's a shame, and I agree with you. Everything that you said, not only are the women ugly there, but gee whiz, uh, freedom of speech. Uh, listen, they took it real hard, and I know the subject of false flag shooters because I was targeted to be one. And so this is kind of the thing that we kept talking about. Another reason why he kept having me on his show. And this guy, I think I've changed my opinion over time whether this guy was a false flag shooter or not. I'm not sure. There are a lot of things to consider, but for the simple fact that there was a massive shift, and the most successful shift of, I want to say, tolerance, it happened. But it came at a price. It came at a price. The people there lost their rights to guns. Okay? I see the video. I've watched it several times.
I too have the video. It looks very much like a video game to a certain extent.
That's how chalant he was about it. That was his approach to it, was that it was a video game. I know I play video games every day. Yeah. It's really no respect that these people were actually human beings, but these were just NPCs to be destroyed in this guy's mind. And the thing that changed my mind about this guy was his manifesto and the racist material that he was reading. I'm sorry. He was reading and writing. So, Vinny, that's why the government is down on Vinny and other people that were speaking out about that. The material was obviously white supremacist material. Again, I don't know how much of a coached, handled person this shooter was, but he had all the confidence in the world.
Oh, there was some very strange behavior with him. Like mentioning PewDiePie of all people.
Right. He had influences, and influences that were given to him. Now, I don't know about New Zealand and its diversity, but I know there's not a lot of Muslims, there's not a lot of anything that isn't milk white. Okay? There's just not a lot of it. For a guy to be upset, all the jobs are being taken, all the women are being taken. These kind of people that go nuts because they're losers, they weren't able to achieve anything in life, any standard of living that they want, so they'll blame somebody else that's different around them for having what they don't have. And to me, being a target individual, I understand. After you, also, they take away your resources. That's number one. They target your resources. Money is key. You can't pay your rent, can't pay for your car. You can't have a house, you can't have a girlfriend. And life starts to crumble. That's why you see these homeless people pushing their carts, talking to themselves, because they got targeted into that. Now, some people go the passive way, pushing the carts. Others go get guns or make bombs. and take it out on society. So my thing is with this is that this guy may have been a targeted individual, and Vinny explored those options, and I think he was getting close to the truth about that, especially talking to other experts, political speakers on the topic, and it's getting people to think. See, the New Zealand government did not want anybody to think. Doesn't matter if it was a white shooter or a black shooter. Here we have someone that you can relate to. He's white, and he's proud to be white, and he killed people. Therefore, you are exactly like him, and you can't have guns. That was supposed to be the narrative. That's it. To get people to think anywhere outside of that box was a threat to the system, and that is why they needed to shut Vinny up. I'll be here to support Vinny when he gets out. I hope he continues to do what he needs to do. I hope he gets the hell away from New Zealand. Because I know we also had the video on RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network. We had the video on our site, and we got some kind of email from somebody, some company, telling us we had to take it down. We didn't take it down. We didn't. So they cut us off from our IP address, effectively shutting down our station as far as the internet is concerned. It wasn't until video off the site were we allowed to continue. Now think about that. That was
the one
censorship.
The one where he was shooting up the mosque. You mean?
I think so. I do believe so. Yes. So that tells you the level, the power. A foreign country, not even the actual government of the foreign country. There's somebody over there saying that we can't have that up, and all the way in the middle of the U.S., Austin, Texas, website cut, just castrated. I mean, the power of that. You really have to think about that. Within the borders of the United States, said, nope, you can't have that. You can't do that. Because it offends our narrative. This kind of stuff probably happens all the time, but that is extreme. It's extreme. And that, again, is probably why Vinny is in jail right now. It's extreme. But we need to support him. I'm glad we did this as a topic. We really do need to support Vinny and make sure he continues doing what he does best. I'll pass along.
Take us out, Rearson.
Yeah, I don't really have much that I can say about this guy. I've heard you mention him from time to time, Naroki, but I am ignorant as in not knowing, or I don't know anything about this guy at all. I can say that something like this was bound to happen, much like it's happened with the J6 incursion. Funny, I would kind of circle back to Ray Epps, but anyway. And then here in Canada again with the trucker convoy and the persecution that has at least occurred and I think gone away for the most part. I'm almost of the opinion that I don't know which was the more draconian country to live in, really. Canada, Australia, or New Zealand. And for a little while, it sort of looked like Canada was the most authoritarian just because of all of the shit, closing up bank accounts and whatever else with the turd. Sorry, Trudeau. But I think at this point now it's starting to look like New Zealand's starting to pull a little bit ahead in the authoritarianism extreme. I'm hoping that enough of the Kiwis are going to start to wake up and see what's going on, but I'm not terribly hopeful. I really am not. That being said, when V has Vinny on, if I've learned more about the gentleman, I wouldn't mind partaking in that conversation. But how long is he going to be in jail for?
3 months. Is it 3 or 4 months? I heard it was 3.
It was 3 or 4 months.
Okay, 3 to 4 months is not very long, but still, will this be the beginning of more people going through the same fate? Again, almost have to ask the question. In Germany, I didn't say anything when it was this. I didn't say anything when it was this or that or the other thing. Is this going to be the case in New Zealand? I hope not. But maybe. But we'll see. 3 to 4 months, probably another month after that when Vinny's out. Assuming that he isn't being surveilled or monitored. But I mean, really, where could he go? The States, perhaps. But I mean, you kind of have a criminal. No, you don't really have. That really wouldn't be considered a criminal record, though. Criminal background.
Oh, they wouldn't let him in. Keep in mind, Abby Yemeni had a run-in with somebody from. Actually, one of the late night talk show hosts had a run-in with him before he took over the show, and he came. Oh, we actually covered this too. Oh, he flew over from Australia to do some. I think it was Louder with Crowder and a couple of other podcasts live in person. After he had exposed this guy on I can't remember who the hell it is, because we've actually covered him before, and again the name escapes me, but he's the snotty prick who complained because his girlfriend got a little bit too much white in her order at this restaurant, in this high-end restaurant. He's a really rude prick. And he flew Australia to LA to do these appearances, and they stopped him at the airport and they sent him back, right? It has a dual purpose too, because it's sort of like Avi Yemeni also happens to be Jewish, and it's sort of like, okay, so Avi Yemeni flew from Australia to Los Angeles to what? Throw up people off the Great Jewish Conspiracy, right? Like that's the type of but I mean, yeah, and Avi Yemeni does not have well, actually, he's got similar baggage to what Vinny Eastwood has. But yeah, I think Vinny Eastwood would have a very difficult time traveling anywhere now, except in his local area. And like me and V, I mean, he's kind of confined to this is the big concern about my new job, because it's. And again, right, I'll take this off air. This company has got exceedingly remote locations that I can be sent to, where I could be making even more money than what I will be making on this new job, because I will be getting remote pay. My only concern with those remote locations is that I think it's like a 6-3 or it's a 6-2. And it's like, do they have an internet connection or not? That's the issue with me. I mean, I have to always take into consideration the internet connection whenever I take on a job, right? Especially a remote job. Mm-hmm. So that's just me, though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's about all I have. I mean, I expect V will probably have another interview with Vinny probably a month or so after he's out. Or at the very least, we'll be in contact and planning it out as soon as possible. So, unfortunately, I don't really have too much. I heard of the guy, like I said, but never followed him. So, For me, this will be learning of a topic in progress. I guess is about the best way to say it. So,
okay.
That's it for me, man.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So for 321 so far, we have transgender cyclists no longer to compete against women in the International Cycling community, and I may probably literally almost at the I can almost guarantee you that there will be videos coming out about the Tate situation and the new charges Monday morning for sure, or Monday afternoon. The thing that really stands out to me about these charges is like these charges literally came in, I think, on the second to last day or the last day. Like they had to charge him today or they wouldn't have been able to charge. So they added these charges. I think they may have added these charges last minute, which kind of suggests that they don't have a lot to work with. But that will be for next week. Just an FYI, from this point forward, because of the work schedule and everything, we will likely be moving the show to, at least when I'm out of town, we were moving the show to Sunday because it's like I'm going to be doing 4 and 2s, not 2 and 2s, so I don't really want to be doing like 4 shows in 1 week. V knows about this. That would probably burn me out. So yeah, I'm going to try to get the and we will probably, once I know what my schedule is like, we will probably be doing these shows earlier in the evening because it is a 12 and 12 that I'm going to be doing for 4 straight weeks. Great money, but yeah, long hours when I'm going to be out there. So that is it for tonight, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. Yeah, I'm going to also get all this back content posted up next week or before I go out as well. Tentatively scheduled